So, first podcast.
Yep.
Long time coming. We've been talking about it forever.
Yep. A couple of years.
Good couple of years. And hopefully we're going to be doing loads more.
Yep. What's the plan?
With the premise being, well, just a chat, aren't they?
Yep.
That's the idea. So, and I wanted to start, like I'm going to start with other people that come in.
Yep.
And that's like kind of saying, who is Gil Dudson? But the challenge, you're not allowed to use anything about career in it.
Yeah, great.
Go.
Proud Welshman, father to 4, husband. Hopefully a good friend. No, yeah, like you say, a lot of identity is you put on what you do, don't you, as opposed to who you are. So I guess traditionally that would be I used to play full-time rugby, I now play semi-pro, and I'm a full-time commercial finance broker. That's just what do you do, though. That's not who you are, is it? So yeah, I'd like to think of, you get this all the time, like what are defining characteristics. I like to think I'm loyal. I like to think I'm quite humble, and I think that I'd like people to think that I'm quite resilient as well.
Definitely.
Don't know if that really answers the question as you'd hoped, but yeah, like you say, that's kind of an overview of who I am, keeping the career side out of it, even though I did drop it in. So.
Well, you did. You had to get it in. But no, because because it's always, still to this day for me, when people say, when you have that first introduction of who you are or you do a presentation, the tendency is to go, former rugby league player.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm only saying that to almost buy credits with people when really the people aren't bothered.
No. But like you say, it does kind of hold a bit of weight, doesn't it? I think it's a really interesting thing, actually, because when you were talking, I was thinking, I say it because I try and get it to open doors for me, rightly or wrongly. You've got to leverage everything you can these days, haven't you? And I think that's what a lot of people, especially in that field, I think we don't do enough of it when we've got more weight behind it. Some people are brilliant at it. Others are, like I say, they kind of come to the realisation maybe a bit too late. I know for myself, I've probably come to the realisation probably a bit later than what I'd wished. And like I do kind of try and start most conversations to open the door whatever way I can. And it does open doors, so you've got to use it for what you've got to. But also you want people to kind of separate who you are from what you do as well. And I think having the door open and having the conversation, then you can then show who you really are.
True.
And that affords you the opportunity that you might not be granted otherwise. So I don't think it's a bad thing that we do lean on that.
True. But that's really the premise of why we said we needed to get in a room and have these conversations, isn't
100%,
it?
yeah.
Because I know my passion and I know yours. We've been mates forever now, it seems. But it's about kind of helping other lads that have, women that have been in sport that almost aren't maximising the opportunity. And it's probably because we've both been through it, having not maximised it at the time, but have learnt quite a few lessons, and
100%.
we're hopefully going to so on that, when we were talking about values, you dropped in hopefully a good friend. That's why we're doing this, because we are such good friends. We talk regularly. But there is a big thing, I think, particularly with athletes coming away from sport, because it's a band of brothers.
Mm-hmm.
When you step away, loneliness and connection is a big thing. You pride yourself on your connections with. You've got connections into every planet in the universe.
Yep.
Why is friendship so important to you?
Oh, I think it's a long-winded answer for that one. I think for me it's a bit different, so that you're a normal person. I grew up something they call a pad brat, where my dad was in the forces and we moved around every 2-3 years, so I constantly had to move school, make new friends, make new friendship groups. So I think kind of out of necessity, I can kind of find common ground with people very quickly, and I kind of learned. At the time I used to hate it. I look back on it now and I think it kind of gave me a bit of a superpower, where I can find that common ground with people. I can walk into a room and almost become friendly with them straight away. I find a good rapport with people. Whereas other people struggle with that. I know my sister struggled massively with constantly moving and having to try and make new friends all the time. Now there is a bit of a flip side to that as well, where as well as you can make them relationships, when I was younger, just as easily those relationships would disappear as well, because it was almost like a survival tactic that I'd learned and taught myself through. Right, I have to go and make really good mates with people, and then, all right, I don't see them anymore because that's what I was used to. And my wife would probably attest to. I've maybe moved around so many teams, and we've moved umpteen times, maybe because that was something that was kind of innately bred into me growing up. I thought we had to move every 2-3 years, which has caused a lot of difficulty.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we needed to do all of them. Like, I look back now on some of the house moves we made, and some things that kind of happened at clubs, and I think there was no need for those things to happen. So I think subconsciously it was in the back of my head where it was like, right, we're getting to the tipping point here now. 2 to 3 years, we need to make a move.
Like that itch.
Yeah, 100%. That I'd kind of grown accustomed to through growing up. So yeah, I think there's that side as well. So, but like you say, as I've got older now, I've learned to foster them relationships and keep them going and stay in touch with people. Because I know through times where I've had things going on myself where I might have self-sabotaged or made something happen because I was having that itch that something needed to change. It can be a lonely place when you kind of ostracize yourself from the group, or you get ostracized from the group by a club, and it can be a very lonely place because although everyone thinks that you all think you're like mates and a band of brothers, ultimately, not to sound too negative on it, you are ultimately just colleagues, and you do make a couple of really strong friendships or good friends within that team, and you do make memories and ties with people that span other people in the civvy street can't really understand or grasp. But when you move on, the world keeps spinning. Someone else comes in and takes your place, and you need to find your new place wherever you end up. So it's just about staying in touch with the people that actually add something to you, because there can be a lot of people out there who take, and that doesn't serve anybody, least of all you. So it's about finding them right people and them right connections and fostering them and growing with them and going on a journey with people. And I think people are in people's lives for, sometimes they're only in it for a season or two. You don't have to be best friends for the next 25 years, but at that point in your life you might connect with somebody on a level where they help you get through that period of time, that whether it be good or bad. So yeah, I think there's different people for different seasons.
Yeah, and there's so much to unpack in what you've said there, because I can relate massively to that. I always took it as it's kind of out of sight, out of mind with my friends, and my friends to this day, I've probably got a handful that I had from school. They still to this day mock me for the fact that, oh, here he is, he's back on the planet, kind of thing. But I always found it hard because I was so invested within what I was doing within my career, be it when I was playing or when I was coaching or whatever, that I become so hyper focused on succeeding. And like you say, the band of brothers, it definitely feels more than colleagues, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. That's not to diminish what the team is. Yeah, 100%. It is more than colleagues, but
you're dead right. Once you step out of that band of brothers, then has their own band of brothers and their own purpose, and you're not there. How I struggled with it, and you were particularly, around the COVID time, I was struggling in terms of identity, having left sport and what I was doing.
Yep.
And you were militant in making those phone calls to say, come on, you've not spoken to me in a few days.
Yeah.
And that, I think, cemented a bond in us.
Yep.
And I'll certainly never forget that. What would be your advice for those people that you think are now feeling like, oh, I'm stepping away from sport? And how do they generate those conversations? This is where I'm going with. If there is someone sat here, because there's some stat that, what did we say?
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. A third of men have no close friendships, which is worrying. That's a stat from November. If you're in that place listening to this now, which there's probably only about 5 people listening.
If that's me and you, 2 of them.
That's it. And our families, because they've been forced to. But how do you make that first step?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Let's flip it on you. How do you make that first step?
Well, it's small.
Yep.
That's the first thing, and everything has to be small, but it is sending that message to someone you have trusted, and just saying hello to start. I think, and arranging a meetup.
I seen something yesterday. I think it was Andrew Huberman. He was talking about how if you get up in the morning and you text someone, and you just text someone, "Hey, good morning," something biochemically happens where you feel better and have a better day. They feel amazing and have a great day. So sometimes it's about not sitting there and thinking, why is no one reaching out to me?
Correct.
Because on the flip side, someone might be sat there going, well, why is you not reaching out to me? So sometimes you've got to swallow some of that pride and that ego and just send a message. And you might not get a reply, but just on the next day, send it to somebody else. You might get a response. And then, like you say, small steps every day. And if you sat there already and you haven't really got any close relationships or close friends or bonds, that's something that you've got to work on and nurture, because it is a two-way street. And like I say, not everybody, like I said, this season's for people. So someone who you thought you might have been really close with 2 years ago, they might be in a completely different place in their life now where you don't really connect anymore. So there's nothing wrong with that, though. That's fine. But there will be people out there who you've got, like you say, they're mates from school that you grew up with all the way through school and you've known for 20, 30, 40 years of your life. They'll still be there. It might be in a slightly different guise, but they will still be there. But sometimes it just makes you to go, oh, I've not reached out to them for a while. I've probably been a bit...
100%. And it's a lot about what we say to people we talk to, isn't it? About it takes action. Yep. It might not be huge action, but it's a little step. And one kind of tip or trick that I use now is using, like when you hear songs on the radio as you're driving and it instantly takes you to a place, and it takes you to a group, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. I've now started to drop just heard this song, do you remember? It's not any deep, meaningful conversation, but it's just reinforcing that connection that we had and having that, and it might spark a conversation that, like, it's like that text in the morning. It's just like, oh, I'm thinking of you. The feeling it gives you when you send it is I've got connection, but also on the other side, the person receiving it is like, oh, might brighten up their day depending on what they're going through.
No, 100%. I think we're more connected. I think we take it for granted now because we're so connected and so easily reachable. But like you said, everyone just feels that much more disconnected because nobody's actually taken the time out, or nobody seems to have the time to be able to have a phone call, or they'll just fire a message. You might go days without speaking to somebody, but you'll be firing messages back and forth. So just take the wins where you can. But I'm a bit old school and a bit old before my time, I think, where I still appreciate face-to-face conversation and a cup of coffee, or just going out and meeting somebody, as opposed to Teams call, FaceTime, and all the rest of it. But that's just me.
But that and kind of building on that. So on that, in that same study we said about 3 and 5, half of men say that they can't open up to anybody. And like you were saying there, like you can have that chat because we feel so connected, that how are you doing, but we're not openly kind of really talking about what's deep and dark in that. So you're good at that because you're good at pulling that out in me, and I think we have that relationship now where we have that. What are the benefits to you of being able to do that?
I think it helps me. One of the benefits for me personally is I think it helps me put things into perspective in my own life as well, because a lot of the times you're seeking sort of validation for, sometimes you might be feeling really shit and you're thinking, am I the only one going through this? Like, why is it so hard for me? Everyone else is smashing it. They're all online killing it. And then it's only through actually speaking to people and having the conversation you go, oh, it's not all it's what cracked up to be. They are actually having a bit of a tough day, or something else is going on that you don't know about. But it's like you say, it's a highlight reel, isn't it, social media? So everyone puts their highlights on. That's what it's there for, to show you what's good and what's great. Like, not many people are putting their lowlights on there. So it's having that actual, I think it's having a bit of recognition and taking a step back and going, right, well, people are, they look like they're doing amazing. He looks like he's having the best time of his life, but I don't know what battles he's fighting. And it's giving people a bit of grace and having a bit of space there for them to realise that. I think one of the biggest things for me was, or as I'm learning now, being a parent, and like I said, I got 4 kids, from 10 down till 2. Trying to get them to open up sometimes, it can be very, very challenging. And sometimes you just got to get comfortable sitting in that uncomfortableness. I find sometimes my boys especially open up to me the most when we're driving in the car.
Yeah.
And we're kind of, I don't know whether it's because we don't have to look at each other and we're both looking outside trying to just get to wherever we're getting to, but that's where I get the most from them. And then I'll come home and me and my wife will have a conversation and she'll say, what's up? And I'll have a conversation with her and she'll be like, she's not said that to me. I'm like, well, maybe stop mithering him to death and just sit there with him and just, he'll open up, just sit with him. And obviously it's a bit different when you're in the car. But I think that for men especially, not having to have that, it's almost confrontational, isn't it, being sat opposite each other?
That's right.
And I was watching something the other day and it was saying, it was on about this exact point where men, like naturally we're not even face to face now, we're at an angle.
And it's dead uncomfortable, isn't it?
But it's where we're comfortable though.
Yeah.
And it was saying how if you look at most traditional male activities that they do with their mates, you sat down next to them. You go and watch sport, you sat next to each other. You go fishing, you stood next to each other. You know, you go out for a beer, you stood next to each other. You're not really stood opposite, are you? You're kind of always
not very true.
Shoulder to shoulder. And that's when people that's when them bonds are made. So it must be something innate within us where that's where that's our comfort
safe
zone.
Space.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that and it's mad, isn't it, that kind of in our sporting lives, that's where I think when I went into like the player care side of things, it was on the back of my love of coaching in the gym, training in the S&C. But it was because lads were in their safe space in the gym, and that's when these conversations come out. So it's funny, like, that everyone says, don't they, that the physio room is the safest place. If you need to know anything that's going on in a club, go there.
Yeah.
And it probably ties into a lot of what you've just said there, but yet we bring our kids in, we sit them down and go, what's the matter?
Yeah, and you sit opposite them and go, why are you upset? Tell me why. It was my son's 8th birthday for 10. He woke up with the right mood on and didn't want to open his presents. My wife was rather upset because she'd made such an effort. And he come out of school and he was buzzing and he said, oh, sorry, I was in a mood this morning. But I said to her, I was like, don't make a fuss of him and just leave him alone.
Yeah.
But she was like, no, I want to know what's wrong with him. I want to know why. And then you just clam up more, don't you?
Oh, 100%. But that then kind of buys into what we were saying about how do we form these strong bonds with people and those people that are feeling like, I suppose it's being out and being around people, but not having that coffee with, right, Gil, so you seem down, what's the matter? Yeah. It's just going out doing things, isn't it? It's just
being there, it's being present. I found that's the biggest thing, just people that are present. Like you say, you build that relationship with someone, you build that connectivity with them, and then you might just go, oh, I'm just going to tell him I feel like this, or I'm going to tell them that I'm going through this. But it's built over time, and it's like you say, not putting pressure on things, because as soon as you'll know as well, like as all men, as soon as you get questioned why is X, you'll tell them it's Y.
Yeah.
Just to end the conversation.
Yeah.
So it's almost got to be led by that other person when they're ready.
So we've talked quite a bit there about kind of onus being on you, isn't it? When there are problems or issues that you're feeling, often a little bit of action by yourself can move things forward. You are already on a transition at the minute, for all we hate that word, but from going from full-time rugby to semi-pro rugby whilst building a career.
Yep.
What has come along with that? What fear has come with that? A
lot. It's been a very big change, a lot bigger than what I thought. You know as well as anybody, I've been kind of planning for that next step. I learned at a young age that sport was ultimately a business, and I got moved on at 24 from Wigan Warriors and ended up, and that's where we met when I come across to Widnes Vikings then. So ever since then I've always been doing something in the background, because I left a mechanical engineering degree at Swansea Uni to become a full-time rugby player, rightly or wrongly. So I went back to night school after that happened, and became a qualified accountant, and then I've always been doing stuff in the background, just kind of upskilling myself, whether that be sport and directorship masters at Salford Uni, or just picking up a career in life insurance, which I had for 5-6 years before I transitioned to what I'm doing now, which is a commercial finance broker. I always thought I had a good strategy and plan in place, and kind of thought I knew what it would look and feel like. Actually stepping away from full-time rugby, as much as it was hard balancing the full-time commercial finance brokering and the full-time rugby, I had a decent little routine in place.
Yeah.
When that flipped, and it kind of flipped overnight, as soon as the season ended, I went straight into full-time working. I probably should have given myself a bit of time, but as you know, I just cracked on and went straight into full-time work, full steam ahead. Got, I think, loads of kids to provide for. You know, we just bought a new house that we're doing up. We're in the middle of a renovation of our home as well. So there's a lot of plates spinning. So I went straight into full-time working and then part-time rugby. And I thought it was going to be an absolute breeze. I thought it was going to be dead easy, happy days. I think the biggest thing I found was training at night again after working all day. And yeah, I work in the professional services, so it's not like heavy manual labour, but it's very taxing mentally. And to kind of have to flip the switch then to go and do physical training. So I ended up having to go back, and because I didn't feel like I was doing enough training. So I was like massively paranoid that I was going to fall flat on my face at the start of the season. So I went and started doing loads of extra training. So I trained dead early. I basically completely flipped the script from what it was last year, where I would work in the morning early, then train, and then work late at night, to train dead early, work in the day, and then train at night. So that was a big adjustment. One of the other things as well is training is on all of my kids' activities nights. So now my wife has to do everything with them all in tow, and I miss out on everything then as well, which has been a big adjustment. My daughter said to me last night, she went, "Are you going training tonight or are you at home?" I said, "Oh no, I'm at home." And everyone was like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right, great, I feel even better now." Yeah. So like I say, there's a few things there. And I think the other thing as well is, because I'm in professional services and I've kind of stepped away from being with the lads all the time, you can feel a little bit isolated, because I work from home a lot. If I'm not out meeting clients or out networking, then I am working from home, just because it's easy at the minute, and it works around what we're doing in terms of a family. So I find myself at home a lot. So now that it's getting a bit lighter, I've realised that, like I said to you actually earlier, didn't I? I said, I felt like I was depressed last week. Yeah. I think I was just a bit run down a bit poorly, but I think the constant grey skies had kind of cracked me a bit, and I was like, am I depressed or am I just ill? I just couldn't get up for going. So that was a fun little one. But like you say, the sun's come back out again this week now, and everything just seems a little bit better and brighter, doesn't it?
It does, but it's funny again, like there's tons to unpack there. But in regards to what you were saying there about last week, you were feeling run down and didn't know if you were a bit depressed or ill or what. That sounds like burnout, and yet so many people, I think players, when they come out of full-time sport to go semi-pro, the thought is, this is going to be easier and it will allow me, actually work-wise, and the demand on you as a person is quite big still, isn't it? It's huge.
The workload's huge, yeah.
Whilst also taking on change, because change does bring kind of the mental kind of need to clarify who I am and where I'm going and what I'm doing. And then, like you say, your head goes to, I'm playing part-time, therefore I'll have more time with the family. What you're saying there is actually equates to less time.
Yeah.
What are you doing to work through that, to help yourself in that?
I'm to be honest, I'm quite lucky. I've got a decent little support network around myself. I know we've not touched on it yet, but I've been sober now 4.5 years, and I've kind of built myself a decent little support network around that. And that's taught me a lot about, like you say, having them connections and having them people around that you can open up to and speak to. I think I'm quite fortunate in the sense that the guys I work for, one of them's a current footballer, professional footballer. Some of the other guys are a bit longer in the tooth than me as well, so they can kind of relate where they've had transitional periods in their life as well. I've got a really good wife at home, to be honest, very understanding, and she's been amazing with picking up the slack on the side. Not even the slack really, it's just she's got to pick up the pieces and get the kids through activities on them days, unfortunately, when I'm not there. So yeah, I think we talk all the time, don't we?
Because what you haven't added in there is the fact that in the last year you've also moved into a house that needed completely top to bottoming.
Yeah, that's what I was.
So
when I do things, for some reason I always end up do everything at once. So we end up having, every time we've moved house, we've had a baby and I've moved clubs. So we've always had like the trifecta. So this time it was clearly go part time, change firms where I was working, and get a new house. And like you said, the house needed completely bottoming. So there's that added stressor as well, where trying to get the house right, and do the work that needs doing in the house, but then also find the time to train and do your day job and be a dad and be a husband.
Of which you do excel. And this is where I'm trying to get to. You have got, from the outside, so much chaos going on. And yet manage it without feeling that over. So what is it that there must be something is it the training you're doing? Is it that you're finding the space in the morning, in the quiet? What is it? The connections with friends and talking. What do you find that when you're not doing it, everything does feel like it's chaos?
Yeah, I think I kind of grew up like kind of self-inflicted chaos is a lot of it, so I kind of have to just crack on. But I'd say over the last couple of years I've really lent into my faith. So I found myself today really, I hadn't actually been reading the Bible for the last probably 4 or 5 days, and like I said, today I felt like it was a really chaotic day. I was here, there and everywhere, and I was like caught myself and I was like, I've not actually been in the Word for a few days. So I found that sense of community, and just being in the Word daily, and just having a bit of gratitude and a bit of grounding in something bigger than yourself massively helps. And I think over the last probably week where I felt a bit not great and probably was a little bit burnt out, I kind of let that slip, and I've caught myself today and kind of managed to get back on the horse. Now there's periods in my life where that's happened and you don't catch yourself for months and months, and you can spiral. And trust me, we've been there. We've both been there. But I had a conversation with one of the guys, Hendo, the other day about burnout, and I think it's just something that's innate in sports people, I think, where you just go to absolute red line and then you hit the wall, you're ill for a week, and then it's almost like a reset and you go, oh, I'll catch myself better next time, I'll not do it, I won't do that next time, I'll have more balance. But there's no such thing as balance.
Until it happens.
There's no such thing as balance. And like you say, you run to the limit and then you crash and burn. Hopefully not for too long. Or like you say, you start catching yourself now and you put things in place so that you don't burn out. Probably I want to say as much, because I still know that innately I will. It's just the way I'm wired. I
get to red line.
I will get to red line, and I can operate very well at red line. Like you say, I can operate in that chaos quite well, but only for a set period of time, and then you do need that kind of that deep rest.
And I've been doing so much work now outside of sport. It's funny that you think it's only sports people that do that, and actually there's a lot of people in careers that dive in and go to that red line, and it's that delayed stress response, isn't it? That you're under a huge amount of pressure. You've got this huge project, you're in this season, and yet when it gets to the point where you're allowed to take your foot off the gas, why everyone gets ill at Christmas, because psychologically you take your foot off and then your body says, I need to sort this out, boom, I'm going to hit you with everything. It's crazy. And I think that's what in a way happened to me when I came out of sport. Some of that, to some degree, I just battled because that's what you do. You finish and all that emotion comes out of all the demons you've not dealt with.
And I think one of the big things of that as well is, like I said earlier, I think we were saying the most connected you've ever been. So like you constantly, you can't ever actually switch off. Like when I think back when I was growing up, when my dad come home from work, he come home from work.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, you come home from work, you might have to open your laptop at 9-10 o'clock at night because you get something. You know, it'll still be there in the morning, but human nature, you're like, I'll deal with that now. I'll put that fire out and I'll have to deal with it in the morning. It'll just be a new problem in the morning. So there's things I've done with my phone where it shuts off at I think at 10 o'clock at night. I don't get any notifications. And that's helped massively, because I do find myself where if I do get a call or a ping, I just go straight to it, and I'll stop whatever I'm doing. I might be doing something that is a lot more important, but I'll go, oh, I need to solve that problem, so it's dealt with, out of my mind then. So I've put little things like that, like you say, with the devices, being able to just have little things on there where, don't get me wrong, if someone needs to ring me, then this system's built into what I've set up where they can get hold of me, but I don't get every email or every message that comes through anymore.
Because, I mean, that, again, tediously, but links in almost. Did you see that thing with Gareth Southgate when he did that presentation now, and he's saying that male sportsmen need role models because now they're falling into this addiction of gaming and gambling and basically doom scrolling at night, and I think that's creeping in, and you know, back in our day it was booze, wasn't it? That was what we did, and you've said you're 4 years sober. How important is it? Because we've kind of gone there. It's about creating boundaries in life, isn't it? And creating your kind of standards and your what took you to sobriety. What was, you know, why did you get there? What had it created? What were you solving? Yeah, like
lots of problems. Anything that's ever been bad or negative in my life has always had. There's been an element of alcohol involved. You know, I've been in trouble with the law. Couple occasions where that was all centered around drinking, but because I was cognizant of that fact, it was always the case of, oh well, you know that there's an issue, so you'll go and sort it. And for years I used to, you know, I got a lot of good friends who kept me out of trouble up until the point where I stopped drinking. Because there's many times where if other lesser good mates would have just walked away, and I'd, you know, Lord knows what happens then. But yeah, it's one of them things where in COVID it kind of came to a head, because as you know, everyone was drinking and sending videos of each other drinking and stuff, and I started doing it secretly, and long story short, it culminated in basically a 3-day bender in the house that I'd secretly just been drinking constantly for 3 days over like a 3-4 week period where I'd built up a big enough stash where I could do that. And my wife was just like, I'm not putting up with this anymore. And it kind of, when she told me, I was still drunk, so I didn't really take her on. And then when I sobered up, I kind of come to a realisation that I've got a problem. And it's in my family. It's in my family history. There's alcoholics on both sides of the family. Not that I was saying I was a full-blown alcoholic, but I could see myself going down that path. And too many things had happened involving alcohol where I couldn't not do something about it. And like I say, I'm 4 and a bit years now where I haven't had a drop. So,
spot on.
Yeah, and like I say, you know, it doesn't really cause me any issues. And the more I speak to people about it, more people are like, oh yeah, I've not drunk for 2 years. Oh yeah, I don't drink anymore. Or I just drink the 0% stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's been a big shift from when we first came through into sport, like the big drinking culture. Don't get me wrong, there's still a culture there, and I think, rightly or wrongly, I think that a lot of bonds are built, especially when we were coming through. So a lot of good, close bonds were built during those periods. Maybe that's why things are slightly tougher nowadays, because people's guards aren't down as easy.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't miss it. It was, I drank to blackout, and I don't know why that is, but that is what I did. I used to drink to blackout, and nothing ever good came from that. So
it's funny that Gabor Mate says that addictions, because people are craving something in the short term that gives them that dulls the pain, even though it gives them long-term consequences, and they keep doing it. And so the question we should be asking is, what's the pain that you're trying to hide from? You're a professional rugby league player. You're playing at the biggest club.
Yeah.
Yet you're drinking to blackout. What do you think?
I think for me, I had quite a bit of imposter syndrome, especially when I was younger, because I didn't start playing rugby league until I was 14, and then before I knew it, I was at Wigan Warriors, and I was sat around all these internationals, and I'm thinking, oh, the bloody hell have I got here?
Yeah,
this can't be right. Like, something's going to happen here, and they're going to go, you're crap.
Found you.
You're crap. Get out. And I don't think I actually knew who I was. You know, that question at the start. I don't think I knew who I was. I don't think I was comfortable in myself, because I'd always had to be at school. I used to bounce from group to group, so you have the little cliques, the sporty kids, the kids that like heavy metal, the skater kids, and I could bounce from group to group, and they used to say, you're a bit of a floater, you're like, you're there and everywhere, a bit of a chameleon. I think 'cause I'd always done that, I didn't really know who I was, and I think you only really learn who you are through going through tough times anyway. So some of the stuff I've gone through, whether that be with my kids, with illnesses. When my daughter was born, she was in neonatal for the best part of a month, or going through, like I said, the self-inflicted issues that come along with when I used to drink. You don't really learn who you are until your back's up against the wall. No. And you have to go through, sometimes you have to go through them. It's a necessity. You'll never learn. So like I look back when I left Wigan, and they basically just didn't want me anymore. They wanted to go in a different direction. And at the time, it was one of the worst experiences ever. And I look back now and I say that's the thing that made me who I am, because it made me realise that there's more to life than rugby. One, at a young enough age where I could enjoy rugby still, and two, going through that tough time, knowing that I could come out the other side of it, made me realise that you've got a bit about you. You can actually go through the storm of life as such. Granted, I've probably inflicted more storms than I needed to get to that point, but I think that's the biggest learning from it all.
And it's all a journey, isn't it? Like, talk to a load of people, like all of these things, any film we've ever watched starts off with someone who's got a bit of a sob story, goes up against a bad guy who then gets defeated, and then gradually has to find a band of friends, and then goes on and beats the bad guy. That in effect, we're all playing in our own hero story, aren't we, at a time?
Yeah, I think that's why everyone likes the hero films, because you can relate to certain parts of your life.
Yeah, 100%. And your journey now, like you've said there about being a floater, the career you're doing now, and kind of the whole point of this podcast and why we're doing it, and we're going to be hopefully talking to all the people that have been on journeys and ups and downs. But that floater in you that you said, that mix of different degrees and different careers has actually helped you now where you are, isn't it, in terms of contacts and connections and helping you.
Yeah.
Like, for people that are listening now and thinking, well, yeah, I'm not doing anything and I do need to be thinking about it, what's your advice?
Just do something. So I went to night school. Long story short, I wanted to do a QS qual degree. When I was at Wigan, I got told you can't go on day release. This was like 14 years ago, so times are a bit different now.
Times have changed a bit,
of course. So I went to night school, obviously, when I left Wigan. So I did my accountancy quals, and I kind of had in my head that I'd just become a chartered accountant when I finished, and that's what I would do. Thankfully, I went and did a voluntary placement at a local business, and realised that wasn't the right line of work for me long term, because if I had sat on my hands for the next 8 to 10 years after I'd got that qualification, that would have been my whole plan, and then I would have been tied into a job that I didn't particularly like at the time. So just go and do something, because you're only going to upskill and better yourself regardless, whether that's a qualification, whether that's doing some volunteering somewhere. But you'll learn out pretty quick if you go volunteering somewhere where you're not getting paid for it. You'll learn pretty quick whether it kind of
job for you.
100%. You'll learn whether it's kind of what you want to do to get paid for. So I think that's massive personally. And we're fortunate in the sense where we have off seasons. So we get 6 to 8 weeks off. You could take 2 weeks and just go and do a couple of days at a few different things. And you pretty quickly get an idea of what you like and what you don't like. And then you can go and do a course, or you can do it back to front like I did and go and get fully qualified in something, and then realise that that's not something that you want to do. Thankfully, my qualification has given me a grounding in what I'm doing now anyway, and gives me a bit of an edge in the sense that as an accountant, while I'm looking at things on the lending side of things, as a finance broker, I can look at the accounts and I know what's what.
Got an idea.
I know exactly what things are looking at, and I know where that then is going to go in the tier of lenders, and whether it's even lendable on or not. Whereas you could just end up wasting a lot of time packaging that all up and putting it out to people that aren't interested.
because it's all beneficial, isn't it? I mean,
everything's beneficial.
The biggest thing that for me was when we were at Widnes, driving you to get that course done in sports management that seemed great at the start, didn't it? And it turned to be the bane of your life at the time, and it was just. But now, when I'm talking to you about some of the avenues and some of the doors and some of the rooms you're in, you're like, oh yeah, it's because I did that course.
Yeah. So the course at the Salford Uni, the sport directorship.
Sports directorship, that's what. It's learning that even in some really hard times, or things that you think there's no point to this, down the road there's learnings out there that you can take from it at worst. But at very best, having that ability to connect with people, to network, to put yourself out there,
massively
opens up other doors, doesn't it?
And I think I learned that a lot later than what I wished. There's that old saying in there, your network is, show me your network, I'll show you your net worth. It's not so much in the sense of who you're around, but if you can leverage your network and you can get into rooms that you probably have no right being in because you know someone who knows someone, that is ultimately how the world works.
100%.
And I've learned that a lot later than what I wish 100%. I'd learned, but that is how everything goes. So if you, like I say, if you can nurture them contacts and you can work genuinely, not for your own ends, but if you actually genuinely can't connect with someone, just stay in touch, because you never know where it's going to end up. And I think that's one of the beauties of what I'm doing now is, I know we said we don't like to lean on, what we do, but like you said, it does open doors. But then that only gets you so far. Everyone goes on about nepotism and, nepo babies and this and that, but you can only lead a horse to water. You've got to, once you're in the room, you have to find that common ground with that person, or you've got to be able to make a connection with them, or be able to actually provide a solution to their problem. Otherwise, there's no point being in the room at all.
There's a definite theme coming out of what we're talking about here, and it's action, isn't it? It's doing it and taking it. So now the action, like your kind of view on helping people take action in terms of their finances, what is it that you are offering now as Gil Dudson, as a business? What do you offer to particularly sportsmen and women that they can do now to help themselves set themselves up for kind of the future? So
we can lend, we can get. So basically, I'm a commercial finance broker. So we're whole of market, direct to lender. So what that basically means is we can look at every lender out there, and we speak to the lender directly. We don't go through a third party. And what I did when we got our boat, we won the double in 2013 at Wigan, and I went and got my bonus money, and I bought a new Mercedes and an engagement ring. And
the engagement ring was an investment.
18 months later, only one of those things was left. So if I'd had my head screwed on or had some better people around me, you know what I mean? At that age, I don't think I'd have been told what to do by anybody. But I could have started. I could have gone and got that money, used that money, and got a property, an investment property, and started my property journey. There's a couple of times as well where if I'd got the kind of right advice, I could have accidentally become a landlord, and just took equity out of my property and bought the other houses that we moved into. And my biggest thing with getting involved in this side of the business was when I moved to south of France, I wanted to take my equity out of my property and buy 2 investment properties. I got told I couldn't do it. Knowing what I know now, 100% could have done it. So there's a bit of that frustration where, a bit of poor advice. I just think basically I didn't want to do the work, or just couldn't be bothered with the business, which is, I'd rather him have just said that and pointed me in the direction of someone else. But yeah, so, got a big passion of helping sportsmen. And that's in multiple different avenues. So doing some work at the minute for some ex-footballers who have set up their own businesses, and they're looking to raise some money just to get them to that next level of the business growth. So like I say, it's not purely property, but we do help people get property from an investment point of view. And then, like I say, we help anyone and everyone who needs any sort of lending or any sort of finance. whether that be, someone who wants a crane or some plant, right the way down to someone who needs to finance some soft assets. So that could be you kitting out an office fit out, a dentist fit out. We can find that solution for you. And then we go, on the secured and unsecured lending side with the working capital loans. That's something else that we can offer as well. So there isn't really anything we can't find a solution for, or anyone that we can't find a solution for as well.
So you've got because there's always a strong cohort, I think, within sport of lads that are aware they need to do more with the money, and think that property is the way to go. And we know a lot of people, don't we, that have gone down that route and have been very successful. So you could help that side. But what you're saying there is you can also help with those people that have got this business idea but need working capital to get that business going.
Some people have already got businesses going alongside playing. So yeah, like you said, there's both angles there. Well, we cover every base. Like where I am, we cover every base. So I know everyone says you need to niche down and be specialist and be ultra niche on everything. But long and short of it is we'll fund anything.
Yeah.
For anybody. So we can find a solution out there for you. As much as I like to sit here and just say we do one or two, like we'll do anything and everything.
Yeah. And I know that, and you've kind of said it about kind of your one for meeting with people, having conversations, and then just being in touch. There's I think there's a big thing, and I know for me personally, I mean, we all get the cold calls and just hear, is that Tim Holmes? And you put it down straight away. But even in the sense of sometimes that fear of, if I reach out and speak to somebody about there's going to be all this pressure that I've got to go through with it, and I'm not sure. You're a big one that doesn't work.
No, I've got a guy at the minute who I've been speaking to for 14 months, and we're still yet to do anything together.
There you go.
But something is he's looking, he's active, he's just a really busy guy. But I've got a couple of people like that actually. But like I say, my time is there. If someone wants to have a chat or they want to pick my brain for 5-10 minutes, then more than welcome to. If they want to have a proper conversation and sit down and go through some bits, again, there's no pressure to actually move forward with anything. We're there to provide a solution to a problem, or maybe show you what's possible. Because like I say, when you get down the line of the property investing and you're looking at rundown properties, or you see online these things about HMOs and all these things, there's potential pitfalls there as well. Don't really shy away from that. We tell people kind of, X, Y, and Z. Like there's no hidden sort of agenda with us, because ultimately it's not our project.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be ringing me up 6 months later going, why didn't you tell me about this, that, and the other? I'm like, well, I did tell you that was going to happen. So it's not in my benefit to kind of sit there and try and force them to do anything either.
Yeah.
If they want to do something, great. If they don't, then I'll happily have a conversation with anybody anyway.
And that's the beauty, isn't it? I think the fact that you've been in a lot of these sports people's shoes, you know the language they're coming from, you know the amounts of money they're talking about, you know what's important at certain ages through. You've got that understanding. What's your biggest advice in terms of finance? What are the pitfalls that you're seeing that people aren't doing with their money? People are signing contracts all the time with the long-term contracts. What are the pitfalls that you see that people aren't doing, the step they should be taking, and how can you help?
There's a couple of things there. I've got to be careful what I say in terms of advice. But if you were to give a call to action, then to remove that, if there's someone listening now thinking, well, it's been nagging in my brain that I have got this more money, and what's your call to action to think about? Like we said earlier, just do something, speak to somebody, whether it could be just a family member who you might know might be a builder, or it might be a friend who who's got an investment property. It might be one of the lads in the dressing room or one of the girls in the dressing room, and just ask them whatever your questions are. Or, like you said, just give me a call and we'll have a conversation. And there's like I say, there's no pressure or stress or anything. If you just want to, or just message me and just bounce a few ideas back and forth. But there's stuff to be done, and I think the biggest thing is not doing anything. I wish I had done more with what I had looking back on my career now. But again, I didn't kind of really have my eyes open to things until a bit later down the line. And when I tried to do it, I got told it couldn't be done, and I just kind of took that at face value.
Yeah.
I probably should have spoke to a few other people who had done it already. People who I knew, but just maybe I don't know, maybe a bit insecure and just felt a bit dumb picking up the phone and speaking to people. I found since I've transitioned into semi-pro, especially with working as well, people actually want to help. I know as men especially, we think very guarded with ourselves and our time, but people actually want to help, and they want to see others succeed, especially successful people. Yeah. So if you know any successful people out there, they will definitely help as much as they can. So I would just reach out to people and speak to people.
We've gone kind of full circle in this whole chat. Like, I'm a big believer in you're the sum of the people you surround yourself with. A bit like huge believer in that. And that, what we were talking about earlier about connection, about taking that action of that small step. That small step could just be reaching out to someone that you're admiring for what they're doing and saying, how are you doing it? And how can I do it? And can you teach? Isn't it? And a big part of helping, that's why we're doing this. We know we've got something somewhere. It's probably going to take 1 million episodes to get there. Because this has gone down several routes, and I feel like there's so much in there that we can delve into in future things. But by just opening up the conversation, isn't it? And going, because we all get so guarded about money and we made the point about not being able to open up properly to people. You've just got to do it, haven't you? Expose yourself a little bit, because actually on the other side there's good things that can come.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's a bit similar to like what you said with what we're doing today. We spoke about it enough. We actually finally are getting the first one done.
Action.
And we've took that action, and then once you've done it the first time, things get easier the more you do it as well. So that it's like with anything. I'm a big believer in fasting. That's helped me massively at the back end of my career, especially with inflammation and stuff. So once a week I'll do a 24-hour fast. That first one I ever did, it was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Now 24 hours is just like, I'm like 3-4 years into this now, and it's just, I'll just not eat for 24 hours.
What you do.
Yeah, it's just what you do. It just becomes the new norm. So it's like you said, just actually going out and doing something. Yeah. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. I think I've said that about 300 times today. Just go and do something.
Yeah, dead right. Because that's what this is.
Well, it's right or wrong.
The fear, isn't it?
You're either going to win and it's going to go well, or you'll learn and you'll pivot and you'll move in a different direction. But the only time you truly die is when you just stand still and do nothing. Dead
right. If you're lost in the woods, what's the only thing that isn't going to help you? It's standing still. So yeah. But no, I think that's brought us round to quite a nice place. And what we've actually done there is given every excuse as to why this can bomb. But at least we've stepped into our own fear and our own beliefs in what we think we can do and putting it out there. So hopefully, if people are watching and listening and have got to this point, you will come back, because we have got plans, haven't we? We have got big plans of big guests. We've also got plans of like collaborations with businesses and things that will kind of create almost like a little black book for people to open up their eyes to opportunities of what they can do and how they can develop themselves beyond sport. Is primarily where we were going, but that could be anybody as well. So that is the journey we're on.
Yep, we're at the very beginning.
And you said you're all in. You said you love the chaos. Well, I think we need to delve into some chaos in here and get this ball rolling 100%. With some speed. But thank you very much.
Top man.
Buzzing.